It is mid-August 2023 and I'm in the northwest corner of Yellowstone National Park, fixing to set off on a 6-day backpacking adventure into the Gallatin Range. This trip has several firsts for me. This will be the first backpacking trip of which the majority takes place in Montana. It's also the first time I've been to this part of the park at all. I've never even driven through this top corner. On my trip, I'm expecting to hike along and camp in what are described as some of the most scenic trails and scenic campsites in the entirety of Yellowstone. I'm excited, and it's time to hit the trail. Big thank you to Tyree from Billings, Montana, who gave me a hitch this morning from the Black Butte Trailhead while I'll finish up down the road to the Bighorn Pass Trailhead where I'm starting my trip. I've got a short day today, a little over 4 miles. A bridge over the River Gallatin. As we enjoy the view of the massive meadows around the Gallatin River, I will call out that the Park Service recommends a minimum group size of 4 for travel in the Gallatin area due to heavy grizzly presence. Obviously it's only 3 on this trip, me, myself, and I. But do as I say, not as I do. I recommend definitely following their guidelines for safety. Home sweet home. WB1, Gallatin River. Made blazing time on my way to camp today. Just an hour and 20 minutes to go, a little over 4 miles. Very easy hike in, pretty much entirely flat. Time to find where the tent sites are at this camp and get set up.
The Gallatin River was named in 1805 on the Lewis and Clark expedition. After originating in Yellowstone, the Gallatin converges with the Jefferson and the Madison at 3 forks to form the Missouri River.
Let's take a look around camp. There's my tent set up. Front porch view of a big meadow, of which the other side is the Gallatin River. A few mountains in the background. And then down there is the food pole and the fire pit. On this trip, I'm using the Yellowstone North map by Beartooth Publishing. Let's take a look at the map for day 1. Parked at Black Butte Trailhead and got a hitchhike down to Bighorn Pass Trailhead, where I started hiking in for a relatively short day to WB1, Gallatin River. Day 1 was about 4 miles. Day 1 has been a good start to my trip. The hiking was no problem, and the glittering Gallatin River kept my eyes occupied on the way in. I've got a comfortable and cool campsite and a small strand of trees in the middle of the huge meadows surrounding the Gallatin. Camp set up, dinner's in me, and I'm settling in for a relaxing evening. That'll be the end of day 1. Good night. Good morning. Made it to day 2 in Yellowstone. Had a calm night last night, although the temperature was significantly lower than anticipated. The forecasted low for the entire trip was supposed to be about 49 or 50, and last night it dropped down to 37. It is a concern because later on in the trip I'll be camping several thousand feet higher in elevation. If the temperature drops much lower than it did last night, I'm going to have some uncomfortable sleeping coming up. Today has the potential to be a rowdy day. I've got a good amount of miles to cover in addition to hiking up and over Fawn Pass. I'm hoping to get an early start. The sun has just risen. I'm going to finish up breakfast, get camp packed, and be time to hit the trail. Hopping on the Fawn Bighorn Cutoff Trail. It'll take me about a mile to connect with the Fawn Pass Trail. The temperature rises drastically out here. It's already about 20 degrees warmer than it was when I first woke up. So far, it's a crystal blue day. Hooking up with the Fawn Pass Trail, 5 miles to Fawn Pass. Certainly feels like it's gonna be a scorcher today. I'm doing a lot of climbing so far, which is affording good views. I think that big saddle to the middle left may be Fawn Pass, and the big mountain to the south is Bannock Peak. Down along the Gallatin River is where my day started today. First bear scat on the trail. Not too fresh. Looking west, the way I've came, made it to Fawn Pass, 9,120 feet in elevation. Still a hot day. There's Gray Peak and Little Quadrant Mountain. A pretty pond on Fawn Pass. That's looking east, the way I'm heading. And there's Quadrant Mountain. I'm going to go about a mile farther where I expect to find the Fawn Pass Patrol Cabin to eat lunch. Enjoyed a pleasant lunch break at the Fawn Pass Patrol Cabin. Now it's time to get back to work. Bear prints in the mud. Bears tear apart logs like this to snack on the insects inside. Now those are some large turds. Certainly a grizzly. Just crossed Fawn Creek. Short ways upstream of the trail crossing, I was able to rock hop and keep my feet dry. Off in the distance through the trees is Fawn Lake. I'm only a little over a mile from camp, but it will be my toughest mile of the day. There used to be an old trail that cut through between approximately WE5 and WE3. It is long since abandoned, and so I'm taking an off-trail route outside of the bear management area. I confirmed with the Central Backcountry office that it was allowed through here, but it is just thigh-high meadows probably the whole way. I made it about halfway on my own, but I have now stumbled across the old trail. Let's see if this will take me where I need to go. Well, that was a very distinct trail, but did not end up going in the direction that I need to. I don't know what old trail that was. Not on the map, and I wasn't aware of another one through there. So now I'm back bushwhacking through the meadows. I just found another very distinct old trail. This one, once again, is not running in the direction that I need it to. Tons of old trails out here, but not mine. Now, that stretch was no fun at all. I turned what was supposed to be a 1.5 mile straight shot into about a 3-mile semicircle. In part because I kept finding old trails, which is what I was looking for, but none of them went in the direction that mine was supposed to. I've popped back out onto the main trail system about a 1/2 mile above my campsite, so I'm hoping I can roll in uneventfully the rest of the way, and it'll be time to get set up and get some rest. Home sweet home. Made it to 1G4, the upper Gardner River. Started today on the Gallatin, ended on the Gardner. That's pretty cool.
The Gardner River and the nearby town of Gardner, Montana, were named after Johnson Gardner, a free trapper who worked Yellowstone in the 1830s.
Here's a look around camp, set up. Quaint tent spots, quite a ways away from the food pole, nice and safe. Small meadow out there. And that's about it. Let's take a look at the map for day 2. Starting at 1B1, I cut up and across Fawn Pass, continued down to this area where I then cut off trail to connect up here. We can see the map shows this as in the BMA, but the backcountry office confirmed to me that it was not, and the route that I took was not the best route. You can probably find a better way. And I set up camp at 1G4, Upper Gardner River. Day 2 was about 15 miles. Day 2 has been a good day, albeit it ended on a difficult note. I made good time climbing up to Fawn Pass, enjoying the beautiful views along the way, and then made good time coming down from Fawn Pass as well, right up to the point where I needed to cut off trail to get up to my campsite. I don't know what was going on with all those old abandoned trails, but none of them were the old abandoned trail that I was looking for, which was a bit frustrating. But I made it through after picking up a bunch of little plant pollen sacs and a couple scratches on the legs, but other than that, no worse for the wear. I've got camp set up, dinner's in me, and I'm settling in for what I hope to be a warmer night than last night. That'll be the end of day 2. Good night. Good morning. Made to day 3 in the Gallatin Range. Last night was much more in line with the expectations that I had coming into the trip in terms of temperature. The low was about 47, 10 degrees warmer than the night before, nice and comfortable. Today should be a shorter day than yesterday. Yesterday was long, about 15 miles. Today is more in my comfort zone, and it looks to be around 11 to 12 miles as I make my way to the East Fork of Specimen Creek. There's been some pretty star nights the last 2 nights that I've enjoyed. I'm going to finish up breakfast, get camp packed up, and it'll be time to hit the trail. The Gardner River. Barely more than a brook at this stage. Electric Peak. The first couple miles of my day have been pretty consistent. A steady climb, mostly in the trees. It does look like I'm perhaps breaking above the trees here now, which means I will be exposed to the blistering sun. I've been feeling pretty low energy today. I don't know if it is yesterday's tough hike taking a residual toll, or maybe I'm running a deficit on food or water or electrolytes, or maybe it's just an off-cycle day for me. But I'm hoping that I can slowly cruise through today and then get some good rest this evening and night. Hopefully bounce back to full capacity tomorrow. But still a lot of hiking to go until I get to that resting point. Quite a bit of snow remaining on those slopes stretching above 10,000 feet. Made it up to the top of this pass. Quite a steep climb to start the day. That's looking northwest, the way I'll be heading. Crystal blue day today so far. It's pretty windy up here, but it hasn't been so windy down on the sides. There's looking southeast, the way that I hiked up. And here are those big snowy slopes that we just saw. Dead ahead is where I hope to make it for lunch. Sportsman Lake. It looks pretty far away though. The trail heading down to Sportsman Lake is pretty steep, rocky and rooty, but a lot of it has been in the trees, which saves me from the sun. Sportsman Creek and the Sportsman Meadows. The Sportsman Patrol Cabin has a very scenic location. I was going to eat lunch on the front porch, but it's absolutely covered in varmint turds. So I'm just gonna retrace back down the trail a little bit to a nice grove of trees and eat poop free. Directly after the cabin is a menagerie of prints. This looks like a bear. There's a couple ungulate, and this has the look of a large canine or feline. First people I've seen in 3 days. A huge group of horsepackers. I finally feel like I've got some wind in my sails, and I'm making a decent pace for the first time today. A couple miles ago I did break into Montana, so I left Wyoming behind. My first 2 nights were in Wyoming. My next 3 will all be in Montana. This intersection means that I'm right at 2 miles from camp. Let's finish strong. At this point, I'm guessing that these larger four-toed tracks must be wolf. They just seem too prevalent to be lion. Pretty cool to see all these wolf tracks out here. Home sweet home. Made it to WD1, East Fork Specimen Creek. I only saw 1 bear scat on trail today, a far cry from the 20 to 30 of yesterday. The East Fork of Specimen Creek sure is pretty as it flows right by camp. I'm looking forward to filtering some of this nice cold water and drinking it up.
Yellowstone National Park is home to an abundance of wildlife. 67 species of mammals, 300 species of birds, and 11 species of reptiles and amphibians.
Camp's all set up. The food pole is several hundred yards away. I've got a nice white noise from the East Fork of Specimen Creek to lull me to sleep tonight. Not that it'll take much, I'm a tired boy. Let's take a look at the map for day 3. From 1G4, I came across Electric Pass through the Sportsman Lake area and set up camp at WD1, East Fork of Specimen Creek. Day 3 was about 12 miles. Day 3 has been a great day and another physically demanding one. 12 miles with 6,000 combined feet of elevation gain and descent has tired me out once again. My favorite parts of the day were the pass between the Gardner drainage and the Sportsman drainage, and that little patch of mud right past the Sportsman Cabin that had the bear print, the wolf print, several sizes of ungulates. That definitely got my imagination running about the wildlife here in Yellowstone. Camp set up, dinner's in me, and I'm going to settle in for a restful evening because I need it. And that'll be the end of day 3. Good night. Good morning. Made it to day 4 in the Gallatin Range. Last night dropped down to right about 40, and there was a little bit of smoke that came through in the evening, but it appears to have cleared out by now. I've got a pretty day of hiking today. I'll check out multiple high elevation lakes, but to get to and from those lakes, I'm going to have to put in the work. From my starting elevation of around 8,000 feet currently, I'll climb up to about 9,500 feet, then I'll drop down to about 7,500 feet, and then I'll climb back to a couple hundred feet above 9,000. So a lot of up and down, and I expect that to be in the hot Yellowstone August sun. I'm gonna finish up breakfast, and it'll be time to hit the trail. The first mile of my day has been retracing my steps back to this intersection. I came in on the right from Sportsman Lake. I'm going to head up on the left to High Lake. It's a calm, chilly morning. I didn't realize this looking at the map, but I'll be outside of Yellowstone National Park for the next half mile or so. This little firearms note, I don't believe is correct. My understanding is you're allowed to have firearms in the park. You're just not allowed to shoot them. Well, that was a short jaunt outside the park, only a few minutes. I was pushing the pace this morning, trying to take advantage of the slow to warm day, and I'd hoped to make it up to High Lake by the time the temperature hit 70. It was 70.9 when I pulled up. Don't worry though, I've still got lots and lots of climbing to do in the heat of the day. There's a big old bird. First little payoff for all the climbing, some mountain views. Peering north into the Lion Creek drainage off the side of Shooting Star Mountain. More views from on high, looking due south. A small, perhaps seasonal, pond on my descent down towards Crescent Lake. Another tarn. Made it down to Crescent Lake off the side of Meldrum Mountain. I'm gonna find a nice shaded spot to eat a late lunch, get fueled up for my big climb to finish the day to Shelf Lake. Heading off from Crescent Lake, there was 2 groups eating lunch together, so I joined them. One group had come down from Shelf Lake, and they definitely said it is an absolutely crazy climb up there. So I'm looking forward to finishing off today strong. Looks like a bird became a meal here. The North Fork of Specimen Creek. My last chance at water before the grueling climb begins up the shelf. Big cliffs looming over me on this big climb. A sight for sore feet. Shelf Lake. Home sweet home. Made it to WE5 Shelf Lake. That was a hardy climb, a hot climb. I am soaked head to toe. Good thing I got this scenic lake to cool off in.
The Gallatin Range is the second largest of Yellowstone's 4 mountain ranges, after the Absarokas. The Gallatins extend 75 miles and average 20 miles wide.
Let's take a look at the map for day 4. From WD1, I hiked around to High Lake, continued on to Crescent Lake, and finished up at Shelf Lake, WE5. Day 4 was about 12 miles. Camp's all set up. The food pole is many hundreds of yards away for safety and to make me walk more, overlooking Shelf Lake. Day 4 has been another great day, another tiring day, and another hot day. The highlights for me were the multiple lakes along the way, and the view, especially looking down beside Shooting Star Mountain into the Lion Creek drainage. I've got the toughest day of the trip coming up tomorrow, so I need to get my rest in. Camp set up, I've eaten dinner, and it's time to settle in for a relaxing evening. That'll be the end of day 4. Good night. Good morning. Made it to day 5, the penultimate day of my trip here in Yellowstone. We had a big storm blow through last night. Lightning, thunder, rain, wind, and there's still some threatening clouds coming in this morning. The temperature did stay pretty warm. The low is only 52. The storm is the bigger issue. My plan today is to hike the Sky Rim Trail, which is known as the most scenic trail in Yellowstone, but it is a very exposed trail, ridgeline hiking, not the place I want to be if another thunderstorm pops off. So I'm hopeful that these clouds will move out without causing any more issues, and I'll just have the hotness to worry about hiking in the sun. We'll see how that turns out. I'm going to finish up breakfast, get camp packed up, and it'll be time to hit the trail. Bye-bye, Shelf Lake. I appreciate the hospitality. If the weather stays like this, it'll be absolutely perfect to escort me on my 15-mile, 9,000 combined feet of elevation change day. But if it turns into a storm, I'll be in trouble. Wow. Even with shrouded views on this moody morning, I can see why the Sky Rim Trail is proclaimed as the most scenic in the park. Looking down on snow 1,000 feet below. We see on this sign they've covered up the no weapons allowed because it's not true. I'm near the top of Bighorn Peak. Let's take a 360-degree look. At some point, I need to stop filming and start hiking. I've got a lot of ground left to cover. But just look at these views. I mean, how can you blame me for wanting to stop and enjoy them for a moment? And there goes my trail, the Sky Rim. Leaving behind the Bighorn Peak and Ridge. The sun's been trying to pop out. Once that big cloud clears, it may turn into a hot sunny day still. Looking northwest, the Sky Rim Trail continues to go down and up and down and up. peering northeast into the Sunlight Creek drainage, I believe that far, far, far out in the distance we can see a little ribbon of the Yellowstone River. Do you want to take a guess what the Skyrim Trail is doing ahead? That's right, and dropping down and climbing right back up. I believe this will be my last view looking north, as I'm about to start dropping south from Daly Pass down to Daly Creek and then Black Butte Creek. The sun's popped out. What a blessing this morning was. Cloudy, foggy, kept the sun off me, kept the heat down. The bulk of my work's behind me, but I've still got some miles to travel. With views like this to the south, I guess I won't be missing those northern looks too much. Heading down. Tragedy just struck. I'm walking along this knife edge ridge and a big blast of wind took my visor off the side of the mountain. My trusty Noose Sport Shop visor gone. Back into the land of meadows. I'm linking up with the cutoff trail towards Black Butte Creek, which means that I'm just a little bit over 2 miles until home for the night. It's been a big long day. Let's go finish strong. I've got some rain clouds chasing me across the meadow. Time will tell if I'm able to make it to camp before they catch up. Oh, perfect timing. I pulled up on the Daly patrol cabin right as the rain started. I'm gonna wait out the storm on that comfortable looking bench on the front porch. And this cabin completes my tour of all 3 patrol cabins in Yellowstone in the Gallatin corner. Fawn Pass, Sportsman, and Daly Creek. Now, the rain petered out pretty quickly. There's still rumbling thunder and the sky is dark gray. I'm gonna press my luck and see if I can finish up this last stretch, get camp set up. In news that should surprise absolutely no one, least of all myself, the storm did not wait for me to get to camp. I was able to wait out a little bit of it underneath a nice evergreen tree, which actually provided a pretty fair shelter. But a better shelter and a much better decision would have been to wait it out in the cabin. We all make decisions in life and we get to live with those consequences. So hopefully the rain won't pick up anymore and I can just go ahead, get to camp a little bit damp and set up, and that'll be the end of it. We'll see. The sun's trying to pop out. It's still raining a little bit. The bigger problem is all this waist-high grass is now wet. It's got me soaked from the boots to the navel. Home sweet home. WF1 Black Butte Creek. Time for me to hang my food, get set up, and change into some dry clothes. August weather in Yellowstone can be unpredictable, as it is one of both the hottest and the rainiest months of the year. Camp set up. I've got my dry clothes on, and the sun is trying its hardest to pop out and warm things up for me. I got faith in it. Let's take a look at the map for day 5. From WE5, I hiked the beautiful Skyrim Trail all the way around the Gallatin Mountains, and then cut down past the Daly Patrol Cabin to set up camp at WF1, Black Butte Creek. Day 5 was about 15 miles. Day 5 has been an eventful day, but a great one. The scenery was absolutely superb. The weather extremely cooperative right up until the final mile where the storm came in on me. And the hiking was tough, but I handled it adroitly. The big bummer was losing my visor. I hate to litter a place that I adore like Yellowstone. I hate to lose a piece of beloved gear. This will be an evening of mourning. Camp set up. I've got dinner in me. I'm gonna settle in. That'll be the end of day 5. Good night. Good morning. Made it to day 5, the final day of my backpacking trip in the Gallatin Range. Another calm night last night. The low was about 47, and so after that first night's anomaly, the rest of the nights were thankfully in a comfortable range for me. I've only got about 2 miles to head out to finish off this trip. I'm gonna finish up breakfast, get camp packed up, and be time to hit the trail. Let's take a look at the map for day 6. From WF1, I have a short hike out back to the Black Butte Trailhead to finish off my trip. 2 miles on day 6 for a trip total of approximately 60 miles. There's a deer staring at me from the edge of the woods. Rolling green hills escorting me along Black Butte Creek on my way out. There's Black Butte. I'm almost at the road. I can hear some cars. Woo! Yeah. Six days in Yellowstone's northwest corner, done and dusted. I agree with popular sentiment. The Gallatin Range is the most spectacular alpine scenery anywhere in the park. I will add that in my opinion, it's also the most physically demanding trekking in the park. Lots of up and down throughout the range. Big shouts out to the 5 guys who let me enjoy a couple meals and some companionship with them. Alexi, Landon, Mike, Ted, Trevor. Thanks, fellas. For my true Laniacs who made it all the way through the video, I appreciate you. And if you will, do me a favor, please leave some condolences in the comments for my noose visor. Your kind words will help me through these tough times. I'm gonna keep this Montana train rolling. I'm heading up to Glacier for my first ever visit to that national park. Until next time, thanks for tuning into Lane's World. Goodbye. A daggum mouse made a nest in my truck bed in those 6 days I was gone. And probably chewed up my old boots as well. Little devils. They got all of Yellowstone to build a nest. They want to do it in my truck, pooping everywhere. I'm gonna chase them out.